Mass and Mr. Redican. My partner Mindy and I are here to prove to you why the resolution is not desirable and why we should maintain the status quo. The resolution is resolved that the U.S. federal government should enact a plan to restrict children's television. We do not agree with the resolution because it should be up to the discretion of the parents to decide what the children living in their residence can and cannot watch. There is a law already in place, and cost for change would be very expensive and not economical. We believe the status quo should remain the same because it is not up to the government to decide what the general population can watch. Every family has a different set of morals and values, and the government cannot decide what is right and wrong for everybody. I can have a completely different idea of what is right and what is wrong than the next person. If anybody watched the vice presidential debate, you would see near the end Martha Raddatz asked each candidate how religion played a role in their view of abortion. Both candidates said they were practicing Catholics, but they had almost completely opposite views of what they think was right and wrong with abortion. Biden thinks it's up to the woman to decide, and Ryan thinks that abortion should only be allowed in rape, incest, and the safety of the mother. So bringing this back to our topic, I can be very similar to somebody, but have opposite views on what is right and wrong. That's why it's up to the individual guardian to decide what their child can and cannot watch. Also, there are methods to block channels which you don't want the child watching. There's a lock on your remote control at home, and there was something that we found while going on Google. It's called a Kids Safe TV Turtle. We found it on beststuff.com, and it's a turtle-shaped device that has 11 buttons, and they're channel buttons, and then there's one on button. And the remote is preset by the parent to decide what channels are good. And you flip it on, and then the child can turn on the TV. And then if they try to switch the channel with the normal remote, it can tell. And it switches back within 30 seconds to one of the parent-approved channels. So that is 2 ways you can regulate it. And next, another reason that the status quo should remain the same is that there's already a law in place. This law was put in place by the Federal Communications Commission, otherwise known as the FCC, and the law is called the Children's Television Act of 1990. It states the FCC has adopted rules and guidelines to carry out the Children's Television Act educational programming mandate. Under the FCC's rules and guidelines, television stations must air at least 3 hours per week of core programming, identify core programs by displaying the symbol E and I throughout the program, and provide parents and consumers with advanced information about core programs and when they're aired. And the television stations like WHYY do just this. Have you ever seen Sesame Street? That's on 2 hours every day, and they have a letter of the day and a number of the day, and it's very educational. And Mr. Rogers, they teach compassion and manners. So these are just 2 examples of television programming that is beneficial for people. And another problem with society having to decide, another problem with making this a federal law would be the money. You can't do something this big on this big of a scale without raising taxes. And you already have to pay for mortgage, rent, all the other taxes, so why would you have to pay for children's television regulating? If I don't have any children, why should I care? Only a small percentage, not a small percentage, but people that don't have children just have no reason to pay this. And there's a law passed in 1990 already. So it's been 22 years. They don't need to change anything. So in conclusion, Mindy and I do not agree with the affirmative resolution of resolve that the U.S. federal government should enact a plan to restrict children's television. We don't agree because it's the discretion of the parent to decide what their children watches. There is already a functional law in place, and cost for change would be too high. Thank you, and vote negative.